Today is Monday, November 23rd, 2025, and I'm doing a video on my observations of how to make a living as an artist. And I never was able to, and I tried, right out of college, and I even got to the point where I took a portfolio around to banks and insurance companies and to see if they would want to buy some of my weird hippie art stuff. And the piece you're looking at now is a section of drawing I did about a dozen years ago. It's one of the last things I've done because I'm so busy in the frame shop. And this is a lady pouring a building out of an urn and has dragonflies and stuff, and I expanded it out into the mat, some of the image, and it's I still have fun playing with it, but the idea of selling stuff and making a living is kind of something I'm not trying to do anymore because the frame shop has done a really great thing with keeping us really busy. And as long as I'm filming, I thought I would show some things that I was trying to sell way back when. I did a whole series of these drawings where I put myself under hypnosis and put pen and paper and pencil in front of me and would just put a thought in my head and just start drawing while I'm under hypnosis. And so I did a whole series of these, and they were I thought they were more of a space kind of a thing, like some kind of weird figures from outer space or something. But I've heard comments from some that they looked like floating guts. And of course, floating guts are not exactly a big seller back in the 70s when, ducks flying over water and sunset were a real popular thing here in the frame shop, Terry Redland and Les Cuba and all that. So I didn't get too far with selling my self-hypnosis thought drawings. And then I got into photo silkscreen and did a lot of split fountain work where I'd blend colors together to make interesting sunsets and things like that. And I thought that's probably going to be more saleable, but I sold a few of these, but not too many. And then later on, more in the 80s, I got into handmade paper and even got into some cast paper. But for these 40 plus years, I've been making a living as a picture framer, and it's been wonderful for us. And the last page on my website is second to the bottom is my observations on how artists can make a living how you can make a living as an artist. And of course, this is coming from a guy who couldn't do it, but I've known many great artists, some that were able to make a living from it through my years of here in the shop. So here is my section in my website of my observations on how to make a living as an artist. And I printed this all out, and then I'll read from the printing since it's hard to read from the computer screen when it's so full of reflections. By the way, today there's a bunch of street work going out in front of the shop, so I'm guessing it's not going to be too busy, so I thought now would be a good time to do this video. And I know from looking at my other videos, I should have spots that I should probably delete the spots where there's nothing happening, like me not talking, or but I'm just gonna keep doing it the way I've done it, and maybe someday later do more professional kind of videos. But I first want to start with getting the information out there. So here we go. My observations on how to make a living as an artist. After all these years of having the pleasure to know many successful artists and frame their work, I have some observations. First, I believe it is very important for an artist to meet and greet and get to know their potential clients. Go to art shows and street fairs and gallery openings to not only display your art, but talk to people. Anyone can go online and look at a billion works of art, but it is a lot more likely they will buy your art when they fall in love with you. There's so much more to choosing art than just the aesthetics of it. Art is a connection to the artist, and if the buyer loves the artist, they are a lot more likely to want to help support them and buy their art. When you market your art, you're really marketing yourself. Send press releases to local and national magazines. Do interviews with print, TV, and radio personalities. The more you are known, the more exposure your art will receive. Think of yourself as a brand like Nike or Apple. The more positive exposure you have, the more likely you are to sell your art. Second, try to get a good gallery to show and sell your work. In my opinion, you should choose the gallery not as much by its location or fancy decor, but by the people running the gallery. Gallery owners usually work very hard for their artists. They also usually know the who's who of art collectors. Just like art buyers who buy from artists, they have a connection also to the gallery owners they connect with. Sorry, that didn't make sense. But anyway, most galleries charge 50% of the purchase price. This may seem like a lot, but when you start adding up the high cost of rent and overhead, it makes sense. Also, it's better to get 50% of something than 100% of nothing. You might also consider opening your own gallery. Do a business profit and loss statement, and if all looks promising, you can ask the bank for a loan. If 3 or more banks turn you down, you can hire a CPA to fill out the paperwork to get the Small Business Administration to co-sign on the loan. With the government as a co-signer, the bank will most likely help you out. That's what I did to buy my building equipment inventory in 1979 when interest rates were 12% to 17%. Third, consider doing commission work. Buyers often need art in a certain color and size and style for homes or businesses. If you are willing to work within their parameters, it can be financially rewarding. My suggestion is to tell the client you will do something with their wishes in mind and let them see it first, and if they pass on it, you will be fine with selling it to someone else. But don't let yourself be driven nuts by a client who complains about minutia. Do your own thing, and if they like it and buy it, great. If not, someone else may want it too. This can be especially true with portrait work. Most people think they have fewer wrinkles and more hair than they actually have. Fourth, consider teaching art at home or through a gallery or adult ed. Often this becomes more of a social gathering or party than turning someone into the next Van Gogh, but it can be a lot of fun and help pay the bills. Also consider joining or starting an art gallery co-op where the rent and work and time is spread out among many artists. I was in and out of 3 different antique malls over many years. It was a lot of fun and I made a lot of friends through our mutual interest, but I never got rich doing it. I plan to open an occasional antique store a few times a year out of the frame shop. The name of my antique business is Cobweb Secrets. Fifth, have a lot of different price points so the buyer has options that fall within their budget. Have some little cards copies of your art for $5 to $20, medium-sized prints $39 to $90, limited edition signed and numbered prints $100 to $300. Mount prints on foam core board or print on canvas. Roll a clear gesso over the print and brush around the contours of the image. And maybe add to the image to make it an almost one-of-a-kind embellished print. $400 to $700. And of course your mid-range and to larger size one-of-a-kind originals, $300 to $3,000. Offer art with or without mats, shrink-wrapped, some art framed in a simple ready-made frame and some in a custom frame. If you use our frame workshop space and equipment and your labor, you can save a lot of money on framing your art. The above prices are just suggestions to give the newer artist a place to start. Going off script here, by the way, this was written quite some time ago, and in general, prices have gone insane. I know in our little frame shop here, it's just embarrassing what things cost to custom frame these days, but if I didn't raise prices, I wouldn't still be here all these years. So anyway, I'll go back to reading the script here. Sixth, make it easy for your buyers to have your art. Take credit cards. Many small businesses sign up for Square and get a device to plug into their cell phones that allows them to take credit cards anywhere. Consider leasing art, especially to businesses. As a rule of thumb, once you start doing about $600 or more a month of sales, get a retail tax number. The advantage is you don't have to pay sales tax when you buy almost anything to do with making your art, including art supplies, picture frames, and you look more legitimate when you try and buy it at wholesale prices. Also, some art shows require you to have a retail tax number when you set up to sell directly to customers. The disadvantage is the headache of sending in the tax collected and the paperwork to the state every quarter. It's very easy to get a retail tax number. Just contact the state sales tax department. Keep in mind, if you collect sales tax and not send the money to the state, it's considered stealing and you could be prosecuted. Seventh, apply for grants and go after public art projects. Be sure to keep good records, budget your money, and be able to prove you did what you said you would do. Also consider showing your art on print-on-demand websites like Redbubble.com or FineArtAmerica.com or Zazzle.com or Saatchi.art.com. These websites show your images and handle the printing, shipping, and collecting the money, and you get a small percentage of the sale just for allowing them to sell and print your images of your art. They usually offer framed and unframed on canvas or metal or paper. Some also print on mugs, stickers, bags, and shirts. There are millions of images on each site, so be sure to include keywords in your title so the buyer can find your images. Eighth, budget your time. Break down what you need to accomplish by setting small goals every day. For example, here in the frame shop, I have a list of all the customers' work I have to do in order of oldest to newest. I take a group of older work and cut all the matte block sizes. I might have a goal that day of not going to bed until I have all the matte block sizes cut and marked. The next day the goal might be not to stop until I have all the openings cut. Anyway, you get the idea. You can get a lot done and not be overwhelmed if every day you bite off a small piece of a huge goal. Some find it helpful to make a storyboard showing where they want to be in 1, 5, 10 years or more years, and in small steps you expect to take and all the small steps you expect to take to get there. Also, don't be so critical of your own art or let others get you down if they don't like your art. I imagine before Jackson Pollock got famous, someone told him his art is just splashes of paint and too busy and needs a rest area and a focal point for the viewer to appreciate it. I would also guess Damien Hirst, the artist famous for painting one small circle in a giant canvas, was told his art was too simple and also had no real structure or purpose or value. We all have our favorite art styles and favorite artists. Who's to say you and your art won't be the next big thing in the art world? Ninth, how does an artist go from selling their art for normal prices to crazy prices? Where do you find that first buyer who pays tens of thousands and sets a new stratospheric value on your art? First, I think it helps if you submit and get accepted into prestigious art galleries like the Museum of Modern Art. Next, important people within the art world, such as art patrons, corporate art purchasing agents, and art investors and speculators, need to start buying your art, betting that someday it may be worth more money than they could make money from selling it. Once some of the people start selling art at auction and making money on it, all of a sudden that art is worth more because of competitive bidding. I remember seeing a documentary about Jackson Pollock. As I recall, an art investor was auctioning off one of his works he bought years ago for $50,000, and it sold at auction for something like $1.5 million. Pollock said the artist, did all the work and the investor made all the money. The investor said something like, because of the investor interest, his art was now valued at that higher price. It also helps if your art influences the next style of art or next generation. If you want to have fun sometime, Google modern art sales records. A few years ago, I did this and found one artist who did an installation piece that had an unmade bed with end tables and a nightstand and candy bar wrappers. As I recall, she sold it for $1 million, which seemed crazy to me until I read the buyer sold it for $2.5 million later. I won't tell you about the artist who gold-leafed his feces and what that sold for. And now again, going off script here, what made world news is that artist who duct taped a banana to a wall and sold it for $6 million. And it was named The Comedian. And it just seems crazy to most of us that someone would pay $6 million for a 30-cent banana and a penny worth of duct tape. But I think part of the value of the art was the fact that it was so valuable, which seems a little crazy, but that's the art world for you. 10. Keep in mind that the joy is in doing the work, and if your art sells or not sell, or not sell for much, you still have the joy of doing the work. But know that pricing and selling art is not easy. Would a potential buyer have bought a particular piece if it was priced a little less? Would the buyer have paid more, a lot more? If you price too low, does it make the buyer think twice about how good the artwork is? If it's priced too high, do they think it is not as good as the price is high? It's not easy to find the sweet spot price that your art will sell best at. Most artists I know that are successful find that sweet spot and stay in that price zone for a long time. Only when they can't keep up with all the work do they consider raising their prices. Remember, once you have a significant increase in price, there's no going back. Imagine a buyer of your art at a higher price and they see your art selling for a lot less later on. They would not be too happy about it. You might consider my motto: my first goal is to have fun. My second goal is to make enough money so I can pay the bills and keep having fun. I'm sure anyone in the arts, actors, musicians, singers, writers would love to pay their bills with their art, but the truth is very few do. I was talking to an art professor recently, and he made a great analogy. An art major is a lot like a school football player. Many play and love the game and dream of making it into the NFL, but very few do. Even though the chances of getting in the NFL or being a full-time professional artist are slim, does not mean you should not try. I tried making a living as an artist, and it led me to my 40-year career as a picture framer, and has been a wonderful life. I also had a lot of inventions like a wastewater heat recovery device, computer color matching service, fossil-free farm, thermoelectric friction furnace, and even a picture frame that was 1,000,000 frames in one that I had a patent pending on, and many others. I sent details of my inventions to businesses all over the country. I made a prototype or two. I also wrote a 110-page movie script that I sent to agents and actors. All of these things brought me a lot of joy, and even though none made money, I feel giving it a try was not a waste of time. It brought texture and people into my life that I found very rewarding. My advice is to find a second job where you like the people you work with and find work that you enjoy. Remember, almost any job, from flipping burgers to brain surgery, is helping people, and there should be satisfaction in knowing that you are helping people. While you have a steady income, you can keep working on your art and have a happy life. Before I stop now, I'm going to, since it's, so many years later now that I wrote this, I should tell you that I've run into more and more people that use DoorDash and Lyft and, things like that to help supplement their income. And it's one of the kind of things that you can kind of do if you feel like doing and not do if you don't feel like you want to do it. And I think there's also a potential for things like Airbnb. There's a guy that lives about a block from me that has a place that he specifically remodeled to do Airbnb, and he charges $705 for 5 days. And that's all he offers is 5-day minimums. And it says on the website that he rarely has space available. So that's a pretty interesting way to make money, is to do the Airbnb thing. And if he was an artist, he could do his artwork too. And before I sign off too, I thought you might like to see the patent application that well, it actually got a lot further than just the application that I had on my picture frame. And I first did all the drawings and writing myself, and then the patent office said I needed to alter my drawings, so I hired somebody else to finish them up, and all he did is add some cross-hatching and stuff. And it was a lot of fun and a lot of work, but I sold a lot of it here in the frame shop, and it was a lot of different configurations of it, as you can see. And the idea was, the main part of it was, let's turn this up right side up, but the main part was if you take the color in the focal point and put that in the inside mat, and then use that same inside mat as a piece in the channel of the frame, and then a top mat like a background color, you have a perfect match from frame to inside mat to focal point. Then it was also used a lot with, like I did pictures of bankers and printed up money and slid in the channel, or you could slide in mirrors or wood or leather or parts of upholstery to match the room interiors and stuff. And so here's all the writing. But it was a lot of fun and quite an experience to work on. But after a while, it was found out that when I got pretty deep into this, that in the 1940s, somebody else patented something that had a similar thing with a frame with a channel in the top to put different things in. And so, here's some of the other things here I'll show you as long as I'm here. Here's the thing I had, automated fossil fuel free farming. And here's a wind-up wind power farm. And let's see, here's a health insurance business. Goes on and on. I'm not going to bore you with all of that. And here's Detox Homeless Modular Shelter. And that goes on for pages. Here's a computer color matching service that the idea is you have the computer read the color of like your eyes and your hair, and then you have a computerized dye system to match like you know, hat and clothes or scarves or something like that. But there was a whole bunch of things that it was always fun to play. And here's an adjustable, expandable sectional pontoon ship that would, the more stuff you had to carry, the more you could expand it. But it's fun to play, and you never know where all this stuff would have ended up. But in fact, some of it I even put up on eBay, and that was fun. I had some interesting responses. But anyway, I should probably shut this off. By the way, the noise you heard was our air conditioner heater going off. But here, I'll finally shut this off now, and I hope to someday make videos of what I'm doing now as kind of a crude, rough video, and have like AI help me make an actual concise video. But I want to get information out there before I kick the bucket. I'm 74 now. I'm totally blind in my left eye, and my right eye is getting blurrier and blurrier every year. And right now I can still do things, but someday I won't be able to. So, you know, you want to hope your time on Earth has got some value to it. So I wanted to pass along some information I think could help people. So anyway, you have a great day, and I hope this helps a little bit.